WWE TLC this Sunday on the WWE Network. Main event, at least be main event in our mind. The WWE Championship is being defended in a TLC match. AJ Styles gets his shot to regain that title that he held once before. But in order to do that, he has got to go through my guest at this time. Joining me on the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline, he is now a two-time WWE Champion. And now that he is a repeat guest on Sports Guys Talking Wrestling, we'll call him a friend of the show. He is Drew McIntyre. Follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Drew D McIntyre WWE. Drew, how you doing?
I'm absolutely fantastic. Excited to be back.
Well, we're excited for you to be back. Before we get to the match, I want to ask you, because you and Sheamus have been together, on TV here of late, and you referenced the history of you and Sheamus. But for those that may not be familiar, give us a brief synopsis of the history with you and Sheamus.
Well, the brief version is we've known each other for about 15, 16 years. We met when I was about 18, 19, wrestling in Ireland, and he was about 47 at the time. A kid. He's a little bit older than me. We met when I was wrestling in Ireland. I wrestled for a company that he performed with at the time, and we got the opportunity to speak and realized we have a lot of similar goals and a similar passion for the wrestling industry, and we both wanted to make it to WWE, so we started building this friendship, encouraging each other to work harder in our in-ring game, getting bigger in the gym. We got signed together, went to America together. The night I won the Intercontinental Championship 10 years ago, he won the World Championship. We've lived together. We've been through so much together in our personal lives. He's the best man at my wedding. And now, thankfully, I've been back in WWE for a few years. We're back on the same roster, and we're getting the chance to work together on TV, which we've never had the chance to do the entire time we've been in WWE for, oh my goodness, like 13 years. So it's pretty exciting. That real friendship's getting a chance to be on television.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, my co-host who couldn't join us, he covers soccer, used to host a soccer show on the station. So he sent me a question. He wanted to know if you and Sheamus ever have a friendly wager or two over the Old Firm Derby between Celtic and Rangers.
Yeah. It was pronounced Celtic.
Celtic. Okay, I'm sorry.
Those are my arch rivals. And Sheamus is a fan of Celtic. So he says he's actually a fan of Liverpool in England. He likes to pretend. He jumps in the bandwagon with Celtic. But yes, if we had a couple of wagers over the years. He basically has won every one for about 10 years straight. But this season, Rangers have made a comeback, and we are looking good to win the league this year. So I think finally I'm going to have to put a big wager on and get back 10 years worth of money that he's won off of me.
I totally get it. Hey, rivalries are big in sports. Of course, here in Austin, Texas OU on the gridiron. So believe me, we understand. Let me ask you, your episode of Broken Skull Sessions with Stone Cold Steve Austin's coming up. How was that experience?
Oh, amazing. I've never had the opportunity to sit down and talk with Stone Cold at length. I've seen him a couple of times, obviously, over the years at shows, but it was just a hello. How are you? And passing. This was the first time we both got to sit down and chat, and it just so happened there was a bunch of cameras there capturing our conversation, and we spoke for legitimately about 8 hours straight, to the point where the crew were kind of poking at me saying, Drew, we have to go. You're going to miss your flight. And I had to get from the West Coast back to the East Coast because I had WWE commitments in the morning. So it wasn't an option to miss the flight, or just to miss the flight and hung out even longer. But I realized that we have such an incredible passion for this industry that the second we got talking, we just didn't stop. And it's so cool with somebody that you admire so much and that has impacted wrestling so much, bringing it to the mainstream level. It's heights like it's never seen before. It's such a cool guy and so passionate about the job.
Absolutely, absolutely. Talk with Drew McIntyre, the WWE Champion, here on Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. Let me ask you about Sunday. You're facing AJ Styles. First time you guys have faced each other. We always do something with football in keys to victory. So let me get your keys to victory this Sunday against the phenomenal one.
My keys to victory are trying to avoid going up on those ladders. AJ Styles is a little smaller, He's very athletic, he's a high flyer, and he's very creative. So I do need a ladder to climb up and regain my title, but I'm going to avoid them as much as possible. And I'm going to use the other two things, the the table. So I'm going to put AJ through as many tables as possible. And the C, the chairs. I'm going to beat him with as many chairs as possible. He has his 8-foot bodyguard. This man is legitimately 7'5". He's the tallest man I've ever met in my entire life. His bodyguard will be out there ringside. So my key to victory in the end is taking out that gigantic bodyguard. So working on a game plan.
Sounds like a straightforward game plan. Before I let you go, you recently had a great conversation on your show, Drew and A, with a fellow Austinite, Matthew McConaughey, the Academy Award winner, our University of Texas Minister of Culture. How was that? And did you learn something from Matthew?
Yeah, I mean, I learned a bunch from Matthew. He's got such an interesting outlook in life about turning negatives into positives, and not thinking of them necessarily as negatives, and always learning. And there's a few things that my wife and I spoke about before I had the interview with Matthew, where she pointed out a few things that happened in my life that perhaps seemed like negatives, but inevitably became a positive. As Matthew spoke about in his book, Green Lights, I went from a red light to a green light, and I said, that's just not the case. I disagree with that. But as I spoke with Matthew, I realized that the way I am today, the way my career has panned out, the man I am today, as a result of a lot of the negative things that happened in my life, or the red lights, as he would call them. And I was like, God, and I had a few epiphanies during that conversation of, man, you're right. Like, we got to stop looking at everything as just so negative, and we don't learn from it. We do learn from the difficult times in our life, and it makes us better people. And if we can think that way, and think more positively about everything that happens in our life, the world will be a better place. And just like Stone Cold, like certain people you speak with that you don't know what they're going to be like, and you find out they're such cool people. That was a really cool. My favorite part about it was we went on there and we spoke for about 50 minutes. I think it was allocated for about 15. And he was just willing to stay on there, chat, and give a lot of advice.
Absolutely.
A big one was social media, his views on social media.
Yeah.
And that's a place that can be pretty toxic. And he had a great speech about it, how he feels about it. If you get onto my social media, you'll see exactly what Matthew thought of social media. And I couldn't help but ask him, because he has such interesting insights in life, and I knew he'd have a great answer for that. So get on my social media, you'll see what McConaughey had to say about that. It was really cool.
It's hard to be negative around Matthew. Believe me, I can speak from experience. He is the WWE Champion Drew McIntyre. Catch him against AJ Styles in a TLC match this Sunday on the WWE Network at WWE TLC. Drew, all the best to you. It's so great to hear your voice again. Have a wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And I hope to get to talk to you again soon.
100%. Merry Christmas to yourself. Happy New Year. And you have to check out TLC. I'll be defending that title and heading into Monday Night Raw. Still champion. And I'll be heading back to the show next month to talk about how I'm still champion.